Good morning, students. Welcome to Math Lesson 102, April 22nd, 2020. All right, so today in our lesson, we are talking about subtracting decimal numbers using zero. So as you can see in our question right over here, it says, how many zeros can we place to the right of the last digit of a decimal number and not change the value of the number? Well, as I hope you recall, that is an infinite number of zeros, correct? We would not be changing the value. All right, as we look at our problem right here, we are looking at subtracting 23 hundredths from 4 tenths. All right, so what we find is that we're going to need to put something in this placeholder so that we can regroup. So as you see, we need to place a 0 there. Then we regroup. We take, and we have 40 hundredths, subtract 23 hundredths, which makes it much easier to do. You need the 0 there for the regrouping. All right, so 10 subtract 3 is 7. 3 subtract 2 is 1, and you have 17 hundredths. All right, in our next problem, we have a Brand X computer completed a task in 0.4 seconds. A Brand Y computer completed the same task in 0.231 fewer seconds. What length of time did the Brand Y computer take to complete the task? So as we look at the problem here, we took our 4 tenths and we turned that into 400 thousandths so that we would be able to subtract the 231 thousandths. So I am taking my 10. Well, I had to regroup, correct, because of the zeros. I'm taking my 10, subtract 1, and I get 9. 9 subtract 3, and I get 6. 3 subtract 2, and I get 1. And bring down your decimal. So I have 169 thousandths. And so I have 0.169 seconds is how long Brand Y completed the task. So how could I check my answer? I could add my 169 thousandths to my 231 thousandths, and that should equal 400 thousandths, correct? All right, let's move on to our next example. A pedometer measures the distance a person has walked. Jana is walking 3 kilometers to Rochelle's house. While waiting at a crosswalk, Jana notices that her pedometer reads 1.23 kilometers. What distance does Jana still need to walk to arrive at Rochelle's house? So I take my 3 kilometers, correct? And I put 2 zeros on there after the decimal so that I am able to subtract my 1 and 23 hundredths. So I need to regroup. 10 subtract 3 is 7. 9 subtract 2 is 7. And 2 subtract 1 is 1. Bring down my decimal. I have 1 and 77 hundredths. What would my answer be if it were a money amount? Well, guess what? Hundredths is money, right? Cents. So I would have put my dollar sign there, and I would have 1 and 77 cents, correct? Here, I'll put a dollar sign there. All right. Example 3. In 2004, the land area of Laredo, Texas was 83.44 square miles. In 1993, the land area was 44 square miles. Between 1993 and 2004, the city of Laredo added about how many square miles? So I would take, and I'm going to take my 83.44 and make it a compatible number so that when I subtract the 44 square miles, it is easier for me to do. So I change that to 84 square miles. Since I'm doing estimation, since they asked about how many, and I'm subtracting my 44 square miles, and I get 40 square miles. So they added about 40 square miles between 1993 and 2004. All right, now we're going to work on our lesson practice. I didn't put all the problems down for our lesson practice, just a few. So as we work through the first problem, all right, I wrote them horizontally so that you recognize how to turn them around. So I am going to put my 0.3, subtract my 0.15. All right, Now, guess what? I need to put a 0 here, correct? So, and then I'm going to need to regroup. I'm going to turn that into a 2. Okay, so 10 subtract 5 is 5. 2 subtract 1 is 1. And bring down my decimal, and there you go. 15 hundredths. All right, my next problem, I have 3 tenths again. So I am going to put 0.3, and then I have 25 hundredths again. So, or I have 25 hundredths, I go out to the hundredths place again. So I need to subtract those two. I will need to regroup. And I do 10 subtract 5 is 5. 2 subtract 2 is 0. And I need to bring down my decimal. Don't forget this 0 because it would completely change the problem. That is 5 hundredths, correct? All right, my next problem. I have 4.2 and I need to subtract 0.42 or 4 and 2 tenths, subtracting 42 hundredths, so I need to put my 0 there. I need to regroup. And I'm going to need to go out a little further to make it so I can do that one. So I have 10 subtract 2 is 8. 11 subtract 4 is 7. And 3 subtract 0 is 3. All right, my next problemo. I have 3 and 5 tenths. And I subtract 35, hundredths. I'm sorry, that 3 looks terrible. All right, so I put my 0 here to help with my place value. I need to regroup. 4, 10 subtract 5 is 5. 4 subtract 3 is 1. Bring down my decimal. 3 subtract 0 is 3. And there you go. All right, let's go on to E. I have the whole number 10. And then I have 6 and 5 tenths. So I need to put my decimal there and a 0 there as I subtract. Now some of you can look at these and see exactly what they will be. But we need to go through the steps so that we are learning. Regroup. 10 subtract 5 is 5. 9 subtract 6 is 3. We have 3 and 5 tenths. All right. Here we go. We're going to do 6 and 5 tenths. Subtract 4. Now guess what? We can put a 0 there. 5 subtract 0 is 5. 6 subtract 4 is 2. We have 2 and 5 tenths. Now I'm skipping on to K. All right, in K, Anissa poured 1.2 liters of cranberry juice, got that right here, from a full 2-liter container. And there we go, right there is your 2 liters. How much cranberry juice was left in the container? So it says show your work. I'm going to take my 2. I'm going to subtract my 1.2. I need to put a 0 here. Oh. All right, these are both liters. I need to regroup. 10 subtract 2 is 8. 1 subtract 1 is 0. And so I have 8 tenths of a liter left. All right, that's your lesson practice for today and your lesson. Good luck on your homework. We will see you soon. Bye-bye.